I've got no problem with going in the ladies' toilets. They've got no problem with me going in there. So I am not going to stop going in there.
There's nothing feminine about this guy except for those humongous Pamela Anderson tits.
You can't assume that's a woman because they got tits, because I've got tits.
This is not our movement. I mean, these are straight men.
I've been trans for 7 years now. I've always been searched by women. It's like kind of going backwards and subjecting myself to like sexual harassment almost.
This disregard for if a woman doesn't want to search him, being forced to.
So what is a woman to you guys?
That is a gotcha question, so
I'm just curious.
No, I'm not answering that.
At the end of the day, I just think maybe we should just have unisex toilets and be done with, because we don't need exclusively female spaces or exclusively male spaces anyway.
Serena Williams, Venus Williams could absolutely obliterate any male tennis player on the right day.
Serena and her sister Venus lost to the 203rd ranked player.
What makes you the woman that you identify as?
Change in styles mainly. I think I grew my hair out.
And when I look at that crowd, I just think about garbage, pale kids.
With most men is that we are a threat to their masculinity. They don't like us because we've rejected the masculine side and going towards our female side. Now, you can imagine, if I walked into a bathroom looking like this, a men's toilets looking like this, I'm just asking for trouble. You know, it only takes one obnoxious idiot to dislike what I'm doing. Or
What if a woman did that though?
a woman wouldn't do it. End of. So why should I? So I've just used the female toilets down at Waterloo Station. None of the women batted an eyelid when I walked in there. I've got no problem with going in the ladies' toilets. They've got no problem with me going in there. So I am not going to stop going in there. Unless one person, one woman in that toilet turns around to me and says, could you use another toilet? In which case I'll come out and I'll wait till she's done and I'll go back in there and say, anyone else object to me using the lid?
My God, honestly. Where do we start, Jack, on this? There's nothing feminine about this guy except for those humongous Pamela Anderson tits. You probably watched too much Baywatch in the late 90s or something. That's sort of the only thing that I'm taking from this. But the aggression, you know, that he feels so entitled to go into female toilets. It's just remarkable, honestly.
Yeah, and you know, he says we've rejected our masculinity. Well, I beg to differ.
He's oozing masculinity.
Yeah, I love how with all of the militant trans activists, and you know, I say with 99% accuracy that they are autogynephilic men.
He's definitely autogynephilic, and the only reason why he has this big tits is because he likes to touch his big tits while he's masturbating. I can just see it.
It's so disturbing, and you'll see with these videos that it's actually the majority of people that this guy speaks to are autogynephilic men, and it makes me wonder, you know, for the trans activists who are gay men, and you know, with people I used to kind of be in contact with in the musical theater industry, which I talk about a lot, they're very pro trans rights, but in their mind, they're thinking of their gay friend who's, you know, a queen and fabulous. And I agree that those men probably would make women less uncomfortable. I still don't think they have a right to go into their spaces. But you know what it's like with women who love gay men and they're like, oh my God, you're one of us. You're one of the girls. That's fine. But the problem is that 90% of the men pushing this are these kind of men. And when the gay boys and the non-binary boys go to these marches, like, do they not look around them and think, these are not my people?
I have no idea. I've always tried to make this argument as well. It's like, look at who these trans women are, boys. Come on. This is not our movement. I mean, these are straight men. I mean, since when are we handing over, you know, our movement to straight people? And this is exactly what has been happening, you know, in Iceland as well. Now in the movement, you have all these straight polyamorous people, you have the BDSMs, and you have the non-binaries, and you have those straight women lapping as gay men, and all these men lapping as lesbians. I mean, come on, it's straight people that want attention seeking straight people.
Yeah, and I love how even when they're on camera, they don't even try and perform femininity. It's just complete male aggression.
But hey, be careful now. He rejected masculinity.
Yeah, no, we have to be kind. I mean, you have to remember that this is the most marginalized person in society. It's very marginalized to have these tits walking around.
Yeah.
And he says that no woman has ever said anything. Well, it just goes to show how
terrified when they see him.
Right. I mean, it shows how little you understand women, because women are more agreeable, first of all, in general, and second of all, if a woman is scared, she's not going to tell her aggressor to get out. She's going to get out of there as quickly as she can. And if you're a woman and you support trans activism and you happen to be watching this video, which I doubt you are, just think about if you have a daughter, or if you do have a daughter, like do you want her coming out of a stall seeing this? Mm-hmm. It's utter insanity. So let's see
it's nuts.
What they had to say next.
And one argument with this is, how do you police it? I mean, how do you check who's a woman and who's a man in these spaces? Do you think it will be difficult to police and enforce?
Right. Can you imagine there are butch lesbians out there that are now going to be accosted in toilets by other women saying, "We want to check your genitalia"?
There's only one way to police it: a hand down the bloody front. How else can you do it? You can't assume that that's a woman because they got tits, because I've got tits. So the only way to prove it is a hand down the front. Is it lumpy or is it smooth? End of. And who's going to put up with that? Are all these women, all these cis women, going to put up with that? Yeah. Would you put up with that? If you went into a toilet and someone said, "Can I check whether you've got nuts or not?"
But I think some people just go off instinct, I guess, most of the time, isn't it? I mean,
the first thing that comes to my mind here now is just like, isn't it interesting to see that these men, they don't care, or they don't give any consideration to the actual social contract that we have as a society, that these are women-only spaces. They just don't care. They don't care. It's me, and fuck everything else. It's just astonishing.
Absolutely. I mean, if I try and understand it, imagine if I was part of a gym that was really, super straight, super mask, and if I went there and I just got the feeling that men were really uncomfortable. Now, that would be homophobic, and I don't think it's right. But my natural inclination would just to be to avoid that area. I mean, that's not even a good analogy, but when you actively have a group of women saying we don't feel safe, then your response is just, no, we don't give a fuck. We're just gonna, transgress that boundary.
Yeah, I also find it deeply offensive, the statement about a butch lesbian. A butch lesbian is still a woman, and then this idiot says, "Oh, I have tits." Well, do you know what? Men with Klinefelter syndrome, for example, they have tits too, but they don't go to the female-only spaces because they have tits, because they're men.
Mm-hmm. And some gay men feel uncomfortable in men's changing rooms, and gay men are pretty at risk in men's prisons, but no one's giving them.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, there are multiple group of vulnerable men in society, and why we should be making concessions for this vulnerable. I mean, this man doesn't look vulnerable to me. He looks quite quite feisty and sturdy and well built, that I'm sure that he could probably defend himself in most cases.
I mean, all he has to do is bounce those boobs off of someone. They just deflect the attack.
That's probably. I can picture him like in a pub quiz night where he's like, cracking, beer cans with his tits.
Oh, it's just so gross on every level. Like, I'm sorry, I have to say it, but for these men to kind of say like, oh, well, how can you tell the difference between us and a butch lesbian or whatever?
And
it's so ridiculous.
And it's so telling if these men are autogynephiles or not, because this guy has huge tits, and I see it's quite common within these men that have these surgeries, like in midlife. They always tend to opt for these huge tits.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
I know. I'm impressed with like how much silicone or whatever the fuck it is they can fit in there. From
I don't. The pun here is not intended, but when you're up for these big tits, your autogynephilia is quite busted.
Yeah, absolutely out of control. I even wonder if he's on estrogen, because why would men like this bother going on estrogen and killing their sex drive when they can have, kill two birds with one stone?
He probably, number one, he probably is not on any estrogen, and number two, he probably has his bottom male genitalia completely intact.
I mean, he says the only way is to put your hands on my pants, and it's no, honey, the only way to tell is with your own effing two eyes. And
that's right.
It's scientifically proven that humans, it's like 96% accuracy or something.
The thing is, had I been there, I would find the nearest child and ask the child, is that a man or a woman? And see what the child would say.
Yeah. And, I think the trans man argument is kind of the best they've got in their weak arsenal. But even if that argument has some validity, the fact of the matter is trans men going into men's spaces are probably men are not going to complain like 90% of the time. Maybe if you're like a religious man, but I was in a gym in London and there was a trans man. There was a woman with her breast removed and on testosterone in my changing room. And I thought it was a bit weird, but I was just like, whatever, it doesn't really concern me too much. So no. I don't think it's a good analogy, because the people at the forefront of this fighting it, the majority of them are women.
I think people tend to forget that, unfortunately, most sexual offenders are men, and this is why men are kept out of women's spaces. Period. Most of us men are not predatory sexual or sexual offenders. Most of us aren't. However, men are, and this doesn't change even though you have. Or you change your legal sex, or have, or you grow, have surgical tits done like this man. That doesn't change. So, but like I said earlier, with the social contract, it just shows the disrespect that they have for women and the misogyny that is in the center of all of this.
Yeah. I mean, men like that, I can't stand a woman saying no. And, I think, one paraphilia means you're more likely to have others. And
Absolutely.
not all, there are some autogynephiles who are self-aware and, they've done a lot of thought on it. And I do respect that. But, there's actually a higher proportion of these type of trans women who are in prison, for example, that they're overrepresented in sexual assault over regular men.
Yeah.
So it just really blows all their arguments out of the water. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid to travel through airports, which I do all the time now. because apparently now you have to be searched by the gender person that you were born as. Like, that's so crazy and so unnecessary.
Right, so just to clarify, are you a biological man but you identify as a trans woman?
Yeah.
Okay, so how does you feel getting searched by a man? Why would that be any different to, say, a woman searching you? Or
Well, I mean, I've been trans for 7 years now. I've always been searched by women. It's like kind of going backwards and subjecting myself to like sexual harassment almost. Like, I mean, I know that they follow protocols and whatever, but it's gross. Like, you wouldn't ask a born girl to do that. I don't know why we're being asked to do that.
the flip side of the argument is that now biological men, trans women, can't strip search women. Do you think that's a positive thing for women?
Wait, sorry, say that again.
So now the law also is the flip side, so biological men, so trans women, can't strip search female women.
Right.
Do you think that's a good thing?
I didn't know that was a massive issue. Like, how big is this issue really? Like, how many trans women work in airports?
Jack, don't you just love when you get sexually harassed in an airport by another man?
Well, I mean, like, what are your thoughts on it? Because,
I mean, come on. I mean, we get strip searched by men, and we are gay men. And I mean, it's just so silly. There's nothing sexual about being, patted down by a man, at the airport, But again, this is a man complaining about men, searching him in an airport. For a woman, it is completely different because, men are men.
yeah, and I've been searched very intimately by bouncers at clubs, some of them will even grab your crotch, and I don't like that. And I think I'm not sure if they even really can do that, but it has happened. And I was watching a podcast at Helen Joyce just a couple of days ago, and she was talking about a case in the police in this country where this has happened, and a man, exposed himself to a female police officer in a car, and then when he was brought to the police station, he says he's a woman, so her senior told her, you have to search him. And when she objected, he said, you just need to get on with it. And this was like a strip search, like fully naked. So it is happening. And, that's the reason we have safeguarding, isn't it? Because when there's a loophole, the people will find it. That's how it works.
That's it.
And, I do think, I would assume, for example, that this guy is a gay man, and not, it's funny because I find I get into fights with like the rad femmes sometimes. Sorry, rad femmes, if you're watching this, because I know a lot of you support me. I love you. But
I don't think this person is an autogynephile.
Me neither. And some of them try and say like, oh well, they're all fetishists, and I think there's some validity to that, because I think some of the gay men like to fetishize themselves in order to attract straight acting men, but I don't think it's the same thing. And but sometimes I post a video of what's clearly a gay man, and they're like, oh, classic autogynephile, and I'm like, you guys, like, surely you can see the difference between these two types.
Well, I think I can for the most part, and I'm not reading autogynephile here.
Yeah, so I do have more compassion for these types, because I obviously know what it's like to 100%. Be gay, and I'm sure there were reasons that led him to that decision.
Internal homophobia in many cases.
Absolutely, abuse. And if he does have to get searched by a man, then I do appreciate that might be distressing, but that what I can't get on board with is then just this disregard for if a woman doesn't want to search him, being forced to, Yeah.
No, of course. Yeah. No.
Because even though we are attracted to men and our world revolves around other men for the most part, like, I still feel a duty to women as a man to protect them when I can, And I would never want a female to feel uncomfortable around me, like no matter what.
I completely agree. Yeah.
So yeah, good luck to this person anyway. So
yeah.
Okay, so we're back with these guys.
Some people argue about what is a woman. So what is a woman to you guys?
That's a that is a gotcha question. So
I'm just curious.
No, I'm not answering that. No. That's a gotcha question.
A woman is who she thinks she is, and that's all there is to it. You know, there are women that want to be men, and there are men that want to be women. So you can't say what is a woman, because that is the individual person's ideology of what a woman is. And I want to be the best woman I can be.
You're failing.
Good luck, mate. A woman is a woman, and a man who wants to be a woman, and a woman wants to be a man, and a man is a man, and a woman is a woman.
I mean, he said some men want to be women, so he's admitting that he's a man.
Exactly.
You know, it's strange, isn't it? Because in the past, these men in particular, they would have literally been like, you know, back before social media, we had small villages, communities. They would have been seen as the town's degenerate, like, stay away from that transvestite.
Yeah. It's just so funny that people, and, you know, and I'm so disappointed in the political class. It's like, you know, why they tend to be like dancing around this subject like a cat dancing around a bowl of hot porridge. It's just like, it's so crazy.
Yeah. I'm dying for the day that, you know, even in the UK now, we have like Kemi Badenoch, who's been really good at pushing back against this. I want to see a politician stand up at a podium and say, for a considerable amount of these men, their motivations are sexual. And this is what this is called. This is what it is. And we need to protect women. Like, I'm sick of this. We need to protect female spaces, but trans people are the most marginalized in society, and we need to be really respectful. And it's like, well, we need to be respectful, yes, but also you need to also be able to call out sexual degeneracy.
I don't think, do you know, I disagree. I don't think, you know, trans people in the UK or in the West in general, that they are marginalized and you know, marginalized and oppressed people. I'm really sorry. I just don't hold that view. You know, they've had the control of the media. They've had corporate sponsorship from the beginning. You know, we have had to tread on eggshells around these people for years and years. So that's not marginalization in my view.
Yeah. I mean, it's a controversial opinion, but I'm seeing it to become the same thing now with race, because when are we going to get to the point of acknowledging that? And if you define systemic discrimination, systemic oppression, then it's a fact that white people are systemically oppressed in the media and in.
The thing is, Jack, if you were marginalized and oppressed people and you were like, you know, such a victim and everything, you wouldn't be holding placards saying that, you know, we will piss where we like, death to TERFs, kill, bring witch burning back, and you know, all this incitement of violence and attacking women in public. I mean, for me, that doesn't read victim. That reads aggressor.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're talking about a country where people have been sent to prison for social media posts.
That's it.
And then you have these trans activists with signs
calling. And I bet there hasn't been one single arrest from Parliament Square.
Not yet, anyway. And you know, you don't have Keir Starmer, like, he came out, you know, denouncing the far right. You don't have him saying the trans activists are. It's just you know, it's people are just lacking such principles. It's incredible. Yeah. Okay, let's see what's next in this clown show.
don't all look like the stereotypical image. We have very masculine looking women who are cis, and they're going to be questioned going into bathrooms and things, and it's not going to be, it's going to affect all women.
Wait, so when you say cis women, they can also be biological men? Is that your argument? Or
No. If you've got just a cis woman who maybe has hormonal imbalance, facial hair.
Okay,
looks
but is biologically
female, yeah.
Would they want to be in a female space?
Yeah, because they're women.
That's fine then, no?
Yeah, but they will get stopped. People will stop them if they are not fitting that norm.
Okay.
And if they look, it's already happening.
People made that argument for like butch lesbians and things like that, but
absolutely. That's what I mean. It's so, you know, any woman going in, if you look slightly masculine, you're gonna. This whole ruling is opening it up that anyone can be stopped.
But I think like half the time it is like common sense though, like to identify a woman. Like I think I'd get like 99% correct over here.
No, it doesn't make any difference. If a trans woman, a trans woman is a woman, and if they want to use the toilet, then they're going to go into a cubicle, have a wee, come out, wash their hands, and go home.
I mean, these people are completely zombified in the head, you know, and the gaslighting. I mean, it's just, I mean, come on, really? It's just painful to hear people talk in this manner.
Yeah,
and with complete disregard again to an obvious social contract that we've always had. You know, her being a woman, being willing to forfeit her own rights, but the thing is, she doesn't have the right to do so on behalf of other women.
Yeah, exactly. I think this whole kind of, oh, well, we're okay with it, therefore other women have to be with it. But this notion that the majority of women are okay with it is a fringe idea. Like we see it,
Oh, it's nonsense.
Yeah, and I mean,
there's no merit to that.
They lose support every time they do this, because every time one of these men in particular is filmed, that is how many more women that are gonna, like, imagine if you're a woman on the fence and you think, oh, but they go through a lot, and you know, I know there's been a few instances, but I'm kind of progressive. And then you watch this video and you see these men, then, you know, they're doing our job for us, basically.
This is what I've been saying, because for quite a long time and for quite a few years, the trans activist and you know, the queer movement, the LGBTQIA plus movement, they did everything they could not to speak or say anything, because they didn't have to. But the more they speak and the more that they actually get out there, the better it is for us. So I actually made a comment today on social media, and I said, please do not, I hope that they will not delete these comments, because Operation Let Them Speak always works in 100%. My favor. And I think
100%. Yeah, you just have to let them speak. And I mean, like, even if you take away all of the opinions, like, you just look at I'm sorry, but you look at the group of people at this march and they look like absolute mentally unwell. You know, I think what really harms their cause as well, and I don't have a clip of this here, but I might just pop one into the video, is that they make trans rights then about Palestine, and they make it like, I saw this video has another clip of someone from the rally saying that the UK needs to be more like Cuba because they're fully socialist. And then you have the whole crowd cheering, and it just makes them look like absolute freaks.
Yeah, I have a theory to why the trans activists always take on another cause. I think it's because they won't get any traction without having a by cause, like a secondary cause. I don't you know, and the numbers in Parliament Square, I bet most of them were because they're pro-Palestine.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? They were saying, like, Once, yeah, that was it.
One struggle, one struggle, one fight.
This is like the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
I mean, it's crazy. But the thing is, I think this is the only way that they can actually gain some traction on the public square. Because if they are just as trans activists and not attached to another cause, then they won't get the numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, shush, sorry, I don't know if you can hear the dog. I think watching this video is like, it's like if you ask someone, okay, go into this encampment of a cult and try and challenge them on their beliefs and why they believe this crazy shit. You're obviously not going to change their mind. And that woman, as soon as she got in a bind, this is something I love to see, is then she just retreats and go, trans women are women, It's just like, go back to the doctrine, go back to the Bible, just repeats.
Yeah. Back to the thought terminating cliches. I mean, it's
all right. Let's
crazy.
See what this gal has to say.
At the end of the day, I just think maybe we should just have unisex toilets and be done with, because we don't need exclusively female spaces or exclusively male spaces anyway.
Yeah, but there's a reason why there's, male sports, female sports,
Okay, what's
doctors.
that reason then?
Well, sports in particular?
Yeah.
Like, just the same reason why, men are typically faster, stronger than women.
Are they now? No, that's just your perception.
Okay, so let's say, for example, tennis. If Serena Williams faced, like, Rafa Nadal, who do you reckon would win?
Serena, of course.
That's just being biased.
That depends on the day.
Okay.
That absolutely depends on the day. Serena Williams, Venus Williams could absolutely obliterate any male tennis player on the right day.
My God, do you know what's really funny? Looking at that woman's, saying that to that man, asking her, and he's like 50 centimeters taller than her. It's like, oh, there's no differences. No.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite sad, really, because it's women like her that are actually making themselves very vulnerable, because there is a growing movement of men who are aware that there are these non-binary women who think that, all gender behavior is just arbitrary, and they're actually very vulnerable because they're then thinking they can go into men's spaces, and they just don't see sex differences. And I think that that's a girl like her who could be assaulted.
Well, I haven't been on Grindr for years and years and years, but I had a conversation with a friend of mine here the other day, and he told me that there were so many women identifying as men on Grindr that straight men have actually started coming into Grindr and hooking up with these girls, and then they feel validated because they think they had gay sex while they were actually just being exploited by a straight dude.
Yeah. That's horrible.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I feel very uncomfortable at the kind of I'm a gay man lie, but then I also recognize that they're really making themselves a target, because nefarious men will just find any avenue.
Well, that's it. This is the whole point, why would a straight man log into a gay man's app if it wasn't for the fact that he knew that there are women lapping around there that are easily led. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess just I think the Serena Williams thing is funny because you've probably seen the story before on how Serena and her sister Venus lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player in straight sets. He absolutely crushed them. I heard that he had a drink before and a cigarette or something as well. And then she says that she would beat Rafael Nadal. It's just total lunacy.
My God. It's so delusional.
Just because one's male, one's female, it doesn't matter. It's like recently you've had the lady who refused in the fencing. I'm sorry, but that's a completely gender-neutral sport. You'll have women and men go up against each other all the time. Women will win, men will win, youth will beat adult. So she takes a knee because she wants to make a political standpoint. She paid $5,000 by a right-wing Christian group because she made a standpoint. Sorry, she did that just for the financial gain.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's another very kind woman.
I mean, what an idiot. I mean, fencing is not it's not a gender-neutral sport. I mean, the guy that she was competing against has much further reach than she will ever have because he has longer arms and everything.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. These people are absolutely effing zombified in the head.
It's just a completely misogynistic movement. I'm so curious to see what will happen with this, because apparently with every kind of cult movement, there's going to be 10 to 20% of people who just never stop believing it. Like they'll go to their grave with those ideas.
Well, this is the thing. We will have a massive problem with the parents of these so-called trans children, because they will never face up to what they've done.
Yeah.
Never. They can't. They have no choice.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously have respect for anyone who. Well, I don't. Respect is a weird word, but I mean, there might be some who kind of realize. But I'm very curious to see what happens with the gay people and the progressive women who eventually realize that they've been, you know, when they talk about the patriarchy all the time, that they've been actually part of a men's rights movement.
Yeah.
Like for years.
My God. Yeah. My God, the mainstream feminism has been such a help for the far left. They wouldn't, the far right. They can't imagine. It's been walk in the park.
Yeah, and I feel really sorry for old school feminists like, you know, Julie Bindel. You know, she says some things I disagree with, but then it must be sad to see your own side just completely abandon everything.
I have such great respect for Julie Bindel. You know, she's been like talking about this for 21 years now, and here am I complaining because of my 10 years in this. But she's been 21 years, and my God, she has been battered.
Yeah, absolutely.
During these years.
Right.
How do you make sure that you are a woman and you're not perceived as a man? What makes you the woman that you identify as?
Just the way I present myself. I began my transition in 2021.
Okay.
And I've been presented female ever then, so it was a change in styles mainly. I grew my hair out and things like that.
So does it come to the clothing and style of hair at the end of the day?
That's not all of what makes a woman. A woman can be anything. Sure. There are so many different ways you can present yourself, but I don't see how I particularly am portraying myself as a man to the people who may believe in systemic binaries.
So for you, you're doing as much as you can to present yourself as a woman and be a woman, so therefore you are a woman.
Because that makes me feel happy.
I just love when they're challenged on their own ideas of womanhood, and then they realize that it's all just down to what they're wearing.
Yeah, stereotyped as well. I mean, this is so regressive, and it's so sad that people don't see it.
That is true. I mean, I sometimes, obviously, like, I have a lot of fun with this, and I feel motivated because I'm talking about something I care about, and there's, you know, a community of people who I respect and I've met. But like, I do despair sometimes that people just won't listen and see that everything they believe is just hypocritical to what they say. Yeah,
it's just sad. I mean, we also have to be blatantly honest here. There is so many comorbidities going on in this movement of theirs.
Yeah,
that desperately needs addressing. You know, and I don't mean that in any malicious way, but it is definitely food for thought.
It's like watching this video for me it's like watching the Asylum come out to play. Like, it's like their day out.
I don't know whether you are old enough to remember. When I was a kid, we could buy these packets with pictures, and there was a chewing gum in the packet, and it was called Garbage Pail Kids.
Okay, I can't remember that.
And when I look at this movement and when I look at that crowd, I just think about Garbage Pail Kids. You should Google it, and then you know exactly
Garbage
what I'm
Pail
talking
Kids.
about. It's really, really sad. It's so fucking sad.
I'll put a photo up on the screen.